then let me know.
Okay, the recording has started.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Teresa Kavanaugh, City Councilor for Bay Ward, and we're having a meeting tonight on community consultation for Woodroffe Park Fieldhouse redevelopment. It's a very exciting evening because it's a beautiful plan and you'll see it. I'll start off with a land acknowledgement. I wish to acknowledge that Ottawa is located on unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation, and I would like to honor the land and the peoples of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation, whose ancestors have lived on this territory for millennia, and whose culture and presence have nurtured and continue to nurture this land. We are meeting this evening to present the detailed plans for the new Woodroffe Park Fieldhouse and park plans. We've heard what residents wanted, and this is reflected in the plans. And I'm now going to introduce Louise Servigny, who is the head park planner for this project, and she will introduce the architects here. Thank you, Louise. I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Councillor. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for participating in this evening's consultation. I'd like to start off by introducing the project team to you. If you could just maybe give a wave or let people know who you are and turn your camera on, I'd appreciate it. Our prime consultants are Anthony Bruni from Kalitsa Bruni Architects, David Nguyen from JP2G Engineering, and Jeff Castor from Castor and Company Landscape Architecture. My project manager for this project is Kevin Volker with Infrastructure Services Architecture.
Hi.
And myself from Parks and Facilities Planning. I'll just go right into the presentation here. So thank you very much again for attending. The people missing from this consultation who also play a role in this are Adam Palmer, who is our forester on the project, and David Kier, who's a remediation specialist with the Environmental Remediation Group. Tonight, we're just going to I'll just go through the agenda quickly with you. The intent of this consultation is to review the concept plans for the new building, the function and the programming for the project, and also to outline the process. As the councillor had said at the beginning of the meeting, in the first consultation in August, we presented you with the first concept plans with two options showing different alignments and basic footprint of the building. We asked for your comments. We have heard you and we have responded. And based on reviewing those comments and recommendations from the community, the consulting team has come up with the presentation you're about to see this evening. So what this presentation will include is background information, including the building program, the project schedule, the online consultation period, and the details of the building and the landscape features that also are included in the project. We'll wrap it up with a question and answer period and any further comments from the councillor. So right now we are in the second consultation for this project, and followed by a Engage Ottawa comment period, where we will be happy to accept comments on the presentation and the project that we have presented. Again, the consultation and comment period on the design and the wish list that the community put together was in August and early September. And so this is this opportunity is to review the outcome of that and the design moving forward. So the project scope of work, just to review what that included, was to replace the old field house and develop the concept plans for a new field house, including accessible pathways, landscaping around the building, and other landscape features around the building. The intent of this building is to replace the old one with a building that will meet the current and future needs of the neighborhoods surrounding Woodroffe Park, and which includes the amount of intensification that is going to be projected for these neighborhoods over the next 20 to 30 years. The stakeholder groups input is very important because it helps us to establish the current and future programming in this building and what the community desires to happen in this park. What's not included in the project is the design or addition of any other amenities in the park. And it is not a community center. This building is a community building, which replaces the previous field house that was on this site. We do have some constraints which are important to the project, and that is the impact of the trees during construction and in the design. So there will be tree removal. Right now it's one tree, and we anticipate that will be the only tree that is removed for this project. The other constraint is the proximity of bedrock to the surface. And we understand that bedrock is close in some places. Jeff Castor is also the landscape architect that worked on the design and construction of the park that was revitalized in 2019. So I'll quickly go through the phases and schedule with you. So right now, at the beginning, we actually put together a project charter that outlined the scope of work and the budget for the replacement of this building. We hired our consulting team. They did some preliminary work on the project site, including site analysis and existing conditions, the site constraints, geotechnical information, reviewed the standards, CSA standards, and legislated standards for building code and requirements through of the city's recreation buildings, design standards, and an estimated budget. The concept designs and options were developed based on that, and that's what you saw in August. And a high-level preliminary cost estimate was established then. The first consultation took place in August, and we are at the second one this evening. The Engage Ottawa webpage will be up with the presentation, sections of the presentation, not all of it, but sections of the presentation that really focus on the design of the building. And that will stay up from January 30th to February 13th. After the engagement period closes and review all of the comments, the second phase of this project is the design development, which will take place between February and July. It's the period in which the consulting team reviews the concepts and changes and starts the real detailed design of the building and the landscaping. They do the refinements based on what the building code requires, what the community feedback was, refining cost estimates as we move forward, establishing project schedules as we get towards the completion of the design, reviewing the design through circulation into other city departments, and then preparing the tender-ready documents, which are the construction drawings that go out for bid. Phase 3 is a tender and awarding of the contract. And that's to be determined. And following that, the contract is awarded to a contractor who will build the project. We have site meetings and they begin the construction. In phase 4, we start the demolition and removal, taking down trees and the construction. The building will reopen after, and there's a warranty period of 1 year after that. So the construction includes these details, and I'll just leave those to you. You can actually see them again, but it does include the demolition, as I said, and excavation, and the construction, new tree planting, transplanting of an existing tree to another location in the park, and the reinstatement of the disturbed areas around the building. And the park will remain open during the construction, but all of the areas that are impacted by construction will be fenced off. So there will be a new route for people to enter the park. Just a quick refresher for all of you who know exactly what I'm talking about. Here's the old building and our new playground. The expansive rink program that the community pulls together in the wintertime. The existing building and its footprint and the program spaces. And some of the challenges with grades and the trees and working around those. This is the project area, so within this area here. We have the same community building needs as other community buildings have. And they start off with high level efficiency and sustainable construction, fully accessible, including storage and change room access, washrooms, female, male, and universal, a basic kitchen, multi-purpose room, and a secondary meeting room. Storage in both meeting rooms, a cloakroom, change rooms with outdoor access, rink and shovel snowblowing storage. And the change rooms will also accommodate seasonal uses both for winter, skiing and skating, snowshoeing, and also to accommodate pool users in the summertime. It will also accommodate the maintenance and operating requirements. And there will be a washroom that will be accessible from the exterior as well. The building itself will be bright with lots of natural light, views to the playground and the park, accessible pathways around the building connecting to the park, the street, and the pool, and 2 accessible parking spaces that we are working on the street with a simple configuration that makes it easier to access the sidewalk and the building. These are also some of the things that had appeared on the comments from the community as well. Bright natural light, views to the playground and the park, accessible pool, a pathway to the pool, and access to change rooms and washrooms from the outside. When the consultants speak to the building design, they'll just walk through the building with you. So I won't. This is here as a point of reference, so I won't repeat it. And I'll turn this presentation over to Anthony now.
It actually says that requesting control is disabled by the company's administrator. So I think this.
Oh no.
So I think the city's not allowing me. So I think Louise, you'll probably have to run the slides for me.
Okay.
Unless you're allowed to give me control, but when I click the take control, it's actually telling me I can't do it.
Okay, let's try this again. Sorry about that. Okay, can you try it again? Sorry, Anthony.
Yeah, no, it's not allowing me.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Okay, should I just begin, Louise?
Sure,
I'll just
yes,
tell you when
sure.
to switch. Okay, so I think we'll start off when we're trying to, I guess, where we left off back in the summertime. It was we primarily had a very loose schematic plan of the building and looking at ways of how we could orient it on site, and first also making sure that we can fit the program on the site and see what the basic relationships could be, the size of the spaces, and what they needed to be and how they related to each other. Once we got that feedback, we refined that, and then to develop that now into the building, what we did was we started with some historical research and just looking at the site history, and I'll take you through a little bit of what we found. We'll go through the first slide. So this is the earliest aerial photo we could get of the site. The green is roughly where in the area where Woodroffe Park is today. You see Woodroffe Avenue running almost down the middle of the north-south along the middle of the image, and then east-west intersecting that. We have the Ottawa Electric Railway and Richmond Road to the north. Let's skip to the next one. So yeah, actually, before we do that, we can see that, this was farmland at that time, and it was for quite a while. And this area was really a rural part outside of Ottawa. Next slide. And then in 1958, after the development of the suburbs, you can see that Woodroffe Park, the farmland is gone, and Woodroffe Park was what was remained as some of the open space, remnant space of that farm. Next slide. And then in 1965, things got built up even more around the park, and the appearance of the field house that we know today is from around that era, sometime around 1965 is when it was constructed. So it's had a long life. And then in 1976 is the first image where we see the wading pool added to the park. And then 2019 is what it looks like today. We have the wading pool with the building to the north of it and the new playground that our landscape consultant, Jeff Castor, had worked on. Next slide. So pulling up images from this of this area, we see some of the rural images, the farming that happened, the drawing of McKellar Farms, and the image of a little boy playing in a rural part of Kitchissippi, which obviously quite different from what there is today. But this park is the remnant of this farmland. So to get some inspiration for the building, we started. We thought this remnant piece of farmland really started to inspire some ideas. We started to look at barns of that era and some of the things that they had and what they look like and their basic shapes and forms as a starting point for the building, and see how that could then become a starting point for our design and where we can begin to bring some form to the building. Next slide. And then keeping with the farming theme, we start to explore more and more images, and I've always been captivated by these, traveling through Ontario, seeing these farmland dotted with hay bales, and how they animate the landscape. And then the aerial photos of farmland, and the tapestry created by the crops and landscape and divisions of land, and just that wonderful tapestry that you see in that lower image. All these things started to inform how we were going to approach the building and inform, the various moves that we made as we developed it. Next slide. So we started with the most basic barn form for the building, and just a simple peaked roof. Next slide. And then started to deconstruct it and pull it apart to accommodate different aspects of the program. Next slide. Connected it through circulation spaces and other parts of the program. And next slide. And then animated that form. And through the evolution of it, we ended up with, next slide, a interpretation of a modern barn that it's a fun and playful building. It reflects the history of this site, and starts to bring in some warm and hard colors of like harvest colors, and it becomes welcoming and very playful. It's hard without my pointer, but the notion of the hay bales, you see start to spill out from the building, and bring some of that color and texture into the landscape. Next image. This is moving a little closer up, and you could see how these sort of abstract hay bales, which would become site furnishings and benches and places to sit, and with some wonderful landscaping around it, and really create a nice animated space as an entry into the building, and would also animate the streetscape. This is southwest, looking towards the entry. We have the access to the change rooms on the very right, and where the snowblower and the hose rooms would be. And then again, you see the playfulness of these hay bales, the modern barn, and this is the sort of entry from Lockhart. And moving around to the back, we have a covered porch. And again, this sort of the playfulness of these hay bales around the building, substantial glazing looking out to the park. So from within the building, there's a real connection between the playground, the pool, and the park itself. And so the building and the park are connected with multiple views from the various spaces. And this shows that as well, the glazing, the lightness of the building, the playfulness. These 3 planters we see as community gardens for growing food, and something that I think came out of some of the comments in that we had received in August. Move around the building. Next slide. And then this is the view from the pool, and it's raised up, so you get a different perspective of the building. Go to the next slide. Now this is looking overhead, and this shows the that idea of that tapestry of the farmland, and the change with the crops, and the hay bales, and how they come together to create this wonderful tapestry of landscape. It really extends the building out towards the street, and really animates the streetscape. Next slide. And this is moving around to the back. And again, you can see those three community garden plots and the hay bales, and again that tapestry and that texture of the landscape in the building. Around to the right of the image, you can see there's a new accessible pathway going up to the wading pool, along with a new set of stairs that take a more direct route. Next image. And I think from here, I guess we'll let the landscape architect, Jeff Castor, discuss a little bit more about the landscaping around the building.
Hey, thanks, Anthony. Hello, everyone. In, I guess, similar fashion to Anthony and his group, we looked at the landscape as an opportunity to express that theme of heritage, farmscape, pastoral qualities, all that sort of thing. And here we are with a big idea on a tiny space. So we're just looking at how to come up with some of these design elements that speak to that imagery of farm. So what comes to mind? Barnwood, perhaps in the upper left-hand corner, you can imagine walkways with those textured precast concrete pavers that look like wood. In the center, the idea of boulders. There is rock on that site. Also, what's one of the challenges of initially turning land into a farm, that's clearing. And obviously people like to see boulders in gardens and all that sort of thing. So a little bit of a contemplative feature. On the right, this is an image that you'd see, in the experimental farm or on a farm, and that's the idea of the orchard and the farm road. So that's an easy stretch for us when it comes to building pathways and replanting some of the trees. Next slide, please. And yeah, in the center you can see the inspiration for our seating areas, and that's the idea of the straw bale or the hay bale, and all the fun you can have by stacking them and arranging them, and it's not that much of a stretch engineering wise to come up with a bench, a module that serves the purpose of seating, but also creates that visual imagery. In the upper left-hand corner, we see what we can do with some of the site furnishings. Yes, the bike rack can be a simple kind of mechanical look to it, or we can have some fun and make some animals from the farm come to life as bike racks. And on the right, the idea you saw in the illustration, the idea of the garden, the raised garden beds. And they can come in many forms. The upper right-hand corner is actually the ethnobotanical garden at Lansdowne Park, and that's the idea of medicine plants are expressed in that planter, and that's self-weathering steel, very, very good environmentally and long-term durability-wise. And in the lower right, you can see just how much fun it is to engage children in growing food. Community gardens are something I've had quite a lot of experience with schools and daycares. And hopefully there'll be some support for that idea. Next slide. Here's our overall landscape plan from the air. You can see the idea of the patchwork quilt or tapestry of fields, and in this case, tiny fields. And the orange rectangles are the hay bale benches that Anthony talked about, and you saw in his illustrations. So just approaching the site from Lockhart Avenue at the bottom of the page, you can see to the right, we're suggesting that there should be some accessible parking spaces made. We don't have room for them in the park or in front of the building, but there is potentially some opportunity there along the street, and we would just need a curb bump in. Walking up down the sidewalk to the building, you can see we have a fairly broad laneway or pathway leading up to the front door, and on the left and on the right we have our composition of little crop field plantings and boulders, and then the nice little bench sitting areas. And as you get closer to the building, there's
Jeff, you went on mute there.
I think you got frozen.
Oh, that's strange. At what point did it freeze? Can you hear me?
Yeah, maybe like 2 sentences ago.
Okay. Alrighty. Yes, I was just explaining the bike rack is to the left, right to the left of the door, conveniently located. And then to the north of the building, you can see a long curving pathway or laneway in terms of the imagery. And that links the playground to the street and the rest of the park. The back of the building, we have an opportunity for a great community space, a covered patio that you saw in the illustrations. And hopefully we will see the community gardens develop. We don't just build things like this and hope that someone shows up and takes care of them, but because gardens need gardeners, as the expression goes, and that will require hopefully some perhaps some programming or some volunteers within the community. However, the other parts of the landscape would be the seating areas and the ground cover plantings and some great views from within the building and in the patio out to the back 40 or the rest of the park to the west. And with that patio, hopefully will come potentially things like the barbecue capability for community events and festivals, and again food gardens. If food is grown, food can be eaten. Maybe a pizza oven. Those sort of ideas all become possible. So as you are at the patio, you can walk around to the south down a pathway. And we have an on-grade accessible route that leads up to the pool, and also the stairway for people wanting to take a more direct line to the pool and back down to the building again. And also to allow staff access to the outdoor fan storage area at the southeast corner of the building. And I think that's it for most of the features at this point anyway.
I guess we can move to the building plan. So to the bottom is Lockhart, and to the left would be the wading pool, and above the plan to the west would be the playground, and then to the right, which is to the north of the building, would be the baseball diamond, and in the wintertime the skating rink. So the main entry is off of Lockhart. The building faces Lockhart as shown in those images. We would have a glazed vestibule that looks through the building into this central sort of lobby gathering space. It would have a raised roof and a light dormer above, and you would look through that space through a glazed wall and another entry out to the patio, which would then you look beyond into the park. So there'd be this visual connection from inside the building to the playground. That's along that blue axis going up and down, and then left and right along that blue axis, which is the blue is circulation space. There is a large window glazing looking out to the wading pool. And then obviously there's some larger windows looking out towards Lockhart as well. So the blue is the main circulation, and then off of that we have yellow, which are the support and service spaces. So to the left of the vestibule, we have the coat room. And then to the left of that, we have the mechanical and janitor's room. Just above that, we have the pool storage room, which has direct access to the outside for staff who are maintaining the pool. And then above that, we have the access for the male and female washrooms and a universal washroom. And to the right, we have the kitchen. community kitchen. And the kitchen has a sliding window that would allow for direct access, like a service window, a servery to the patio. So when you have events, they can, if they're cooking hot dogs or they're doing something, making hot chocolate or whatever, they can pass it through the window directly to the patio. The kitchen would also have a similar type of window like that to the multi-purpose room, which is the orange space just below it. We have to the right of that, we have an electrical room and storage room. And then to the right of the multi-purpose room, we have the rink change room, which has direct access out towards the skating rinks. It also has its own barrier-free washroom and a storage room. Then we have the hose room and the snowblower and shovel storage room. Again, direct access to the rink area. And then we also have a storage area for the multi-purpose room. So we sort of brought together those service spaces, and then the orange spaces are the multi-purpose rooms. So the main multi-purpose room is to the right of the entry, and it has substantial glazing, looks out towards Lockhart Street. The doors on the west side of it, the entry into it would be glazed, so there would also be views to the playground as well, and glazing into the central lobby area. And then in the upper left area, towards the park, is a secondary room. That's another smaller multi-purpose room, again with views up towards the playground. It's got a window to the south towards the pool, and again there's this connection. All the spaces are very connected to the park, and the idea is to not have this bunker of a building. This is a building that is intimately connected to the park. When you're inside it, you can see out. When people are outside, they can see in. It's really bringing the park and the building together. The out the back entry is onto a big covered patio, which Jeff touched on, which would be a large covered area. Events can happen even when it's raining, and it becomes almost like a big back porch looking over the playground and the park. And the final image is just that image of this modern bar and the historical reference to this park being that remnant farmland, and having some fun and color and life to the street and to the park, and having a building that really engages both its history, the people of the community, hopefully becomes a great gathering space for the community, becomes like a beacon, and really brings together the park, the building, and the community all together in this space. And I think I'll hand it over to Louise from here.
So thank you very much, Anthony. Right now we'll move into the question and answer part of the presentation. And Georgie, if you'd like to go ahead with that, that would be great. And we'll field the questions and have the consulting team or the city staff answer the questions.
Sure. There's a question from Susan. Would yellow rooms to left be open at the same time as the yellow rooms to the right, for example, the rink? I note there's only one washroom on the rink side, also not clear on purpose of coat room on left side, although it might be handy closer to rink side.
Anthony, would you like to answer that?
I could try. I'm not sure I understand the question. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, sure. Would yellow rooms to left be open at same time as yellow rooms to right?
I guess that all depends. That's more of I think a city programming. The yellow rooms to the right would be open essentially when it's needed for the rink or for the pool. If someone needed to use it as a change room in the summer, or in the winter, the yellow rooms to the left would be accessed through the main entries of the building. So the ones to the right can be directly accessed from outside without having to go in through the building. So those are the direct access spaces from the exterior. And the ones to the left are primarily the washrooms and coat room anyways are accessed from the inside. Obviously the mechanical and the pool room are accessed from the outside, and the pool room with direct access to the wading pool. I hope that answers the question.
If I can just add to that, when the spaces are programmed for various functions, whether it's meetings or programs run through community groups, by community groups, the building will be open. And evenings when there are when programming occurs. And as Anthony explained, in the summertime, this will be open during the rink program, or during the pool program for sure. And the washrooms will be open for kids to use during the day if the pool is open. So
Are the change rooms and the washrooms the same?
no, the change room is separate and it's over here. There is a washroom, but there are also washrooms in the building as well. So if someone wanted to change in a washroom, they could do that during the day when the pool is open, or use the change room or the washroom in the change room, depending on what's most comfortable for them.
Yeah, and I think that the washroom in the rink change room area is also, as you know, there would be a lot of times when people are skating at night, but the building will actually be closed to the public. So this allows for them to have a washroom if needed. They just have to go into the change room and then go into the washroom. I know on the last building we did, there was a lot of debate as to whether that particular washroom should have its own door to the outside, or whether it should be off the rink change room. So you have to go into the change room, and ultimately, through various discussions with various city staff and community, that it seemed most appropriate that the washroom be accessed off the change room rather than having its own door, just for management and security, so that it's not accessed directly from outside.
Are there any other questions?
Susan
Nope.
had one earlier as well.
Yes, with respect to straw bales.
Is there any concern with allergies to straw or bales going moldy?
They're actually not real bales. They are only a design reference for the shape of the proposed form of the benches and the community gardens. So there is no hay. It's actually whoops. Sorry, it's let's go back here. It's actually just the shape and configuration of the benches and the planters for the community gardens.
Any other questions? Okay, well, I think we might get more from the community later, given this will be put on our website. So it'll be available through our newsletter, and people will be observing this and come up with questions. So, Louise, what we'll do is we'll send them to you, and you can forward them to the appropriate architect, planner, so that they can answer them. But you probably
Okay.
know the answer yourself, pretty sure. So, but I'm just checking if there's any last requests. Yep. Oh, Georgie's already put up the Engage Ottawa. Yes, I forgot about that. Apologies. Engage Ottawa is also a place where you can make comments. So this information is available there. And so it's an opportunity to look at this information as well and give your feedback. But overall, I say it's very exciting. It's quite the project. Okay, now here's the reality check. We don't have the funding for the building yet. And so the whole point of this is we get it shovel ready. We get it ready to be funded, because funding packages come very quickly. And that is why I put forward cash in lieu money from the budget I have for parks, and to get it started, and that then it will be available for use. So that's where we are right now. But I'm very confident, because it's a very credible project. It's very worthwhile. This is an area that is going to be very intensified. This is an area that's already seeing that. And it's also near a station. It's near 2 schools. So it's an ideal spot to have a place for communities to gather, to have a meeting room. It's going to be servicing a minimum of 3 community associations. That is the Carlingwood, where it is, Woodroffe North, just to the north of the park, and Wood Park. So there is 3 communities that will make use of it, not to mention all the buildings and intensification that we expect to happen over the years. This is the future, and that's why it's good to have these centers. I know I'm not supposed to call it a community center, but it is a center, and it's in the community. So we'll call it a community building. How's that? But it will be very helpful, and give people a chance to get together, whether it be a yoga class or a meeting in the evening or whatever. And those barbecues that happen, they're already taking place right now, and this will be very helpful, and it will certainly make it easier for everyone. This is a lively community. As you saw, there's a fantastic ice rink there. Kudos to the team there. They've done a fantastic job over the years. And there's a lot of interest. The playground was done a few years ago. I don't know, Louise, were you the one who worked on that one?
Sorry, pardon?
On the playground was redone a few years ago.
Yes, that was with Jeff.
Yeah, which is loved. So this will be a nice addition. So yeah, it's very exciting, and of course we want to go forward. And yes, Kathy, we want more of these. So and Frank Ryan would be next. But at this point, we're working on this one, and it's going very well, and I appreciate all the hard work of the team. It's it's a pleasure to see this, and we'll certainly put all the information up on our website, in our newsletter, which goes out tomorrow, and so that people can see what's coming. So thank you, Louise, and thank you to everyone on the team, Kevin. It's great, and appreciate it very much. So please, if you have any further questions, you can forward it to our office, and we'll make sure it gets to the right people, but also take advantage of the Engage Ottawa. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. I appreciate your time, and hope you have a good rest of the evening. Thank you, Georgie.
Thank you, Counselor. Thank you,
Take
Georgie.
care.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Good
You
night.
too. Good night.
Okay.
Night.